That was 46th verse. And then Krishna is talking about how to practice Nishkama Karma Yoga. That was very famous verse of Karmanyeva Adhikaraste verse. Do dutiful work with no attachment to results. So perform your dutiful work, but don't be attached to the results. At the same time, don't become averse to performing work. Don't be in inaction, because inaction is sinful. So 48th verse, I don't remember whether we covered or not. As far as my understanding, we did not cover. Anybody remembers? No, we have not covered 48th verse, right? Okay, so let us start with 48th verse. Please recite.
Varun Prabhu.
Yes, bro. Just a second. I am opening the.
Okay, I think till that you can take next one, bro. Okay. Bibhu Prabhu. Bibhu, you need to unmute, I guess.
Anyways, mine is open.
Okay, Varun Prabhu, you can go ahead.
Yogastha kuru karmani.
Yogastha
Kuru karmani.
Sangam tyaktva dhanajaya.
Sangam
Dhananjaya
Siddhya asiddhayo samo bhutva.
Siddhyo Samo Bhutva
Samatvam yoga uchyate.
Samatvam Yoga Uchyate.
Perform your duty equipoised, O Arjuna, abandoning all attachment to success or failure. Such equanimity is called yoga.
Yeah. So in this verse, Krishna is talking to Arjuna about yoga. So the word yoga is very famous, right? Nowadays, yoga is become very popular. So, but what is taught in the name of yoga is only one portion of yoga, that is called asana. Asana is yoga asana, but first portion of yoga is yama. Yama means to follow do's, niyama, don'ts. Yama, niyama, then comes asana. Of course, pranayama. So maximum yoga and this asana and pranayama, these are the only two things are taught. But the real definition of yoga means yuj, means to connect to the Supreme Lord. So now here Krishna is using the word yoga. So what is yoga? When one performs one duty equipoised, abandoning all attachment to success and failure. So this is called yoga. Prabhupada also gives in the purport the line that yoga means to concentrate the mind upon the Supreme by controlling the ever-disturbing senses. So one of the very essential part of yoga is pratyahara, control the ever-disturbing senses, and in this way concentrate the mind on the Supreme Lord. Now here, so yoga doesn't necessarily mean that one has to just sit in one place and just be equipoised. There can be active yoga also. What is that active yoga? So here Krishna is himself telling Arjun to fight, and Arjun is supposed to be detached from the results of fighting, because he is supposed to be acting on Krishna's behalf. So gain victory or loss, defeat, whatever it is there, it belongs to Krishna. And that's how Arjun has to simply act as an instrument. And that's how Arjun should not unnecessarily worry about whether he will become victorious or defeated. And when one acts like this, as per the Krishna's guidance or as per Krishna's dictation, so that is called as yoga. So generally people have definition that yoga means sit peacefully and just meditate. So, but ultimate purpose of yoga is to be absorbed in the Supreme Lord, and that can be done by Kriya Yoga also. So outside they have something called as Kriya Yoga also. There is one organization which speaks about Kriya Yoga, right? So Kriya Yoga means what? But dovetail your all activities in Krishna. So one can be very active, one can be, very much in performing various duties, but they should be done on the order of the Supreme Lord, on the dictation of the Supreme Lord. And Prabhupada says this process is called Krishna consciousness. So only by such a practice of yoga or Krishna consciousness, one can give up, Prabhupada says, that sense of proprietorship. So basically, the most practical form of yoga, Prabhupada is saying that, what is that? Become servant of Krishna or become servant of Krishna. Just serve Krishna, don't serve your sense gratification, don't serve your senses. Engage your senses in Krishna, engage your mind in Krishna, and in this way act only for Krishna's pleasure, and that is basically a proper yoga. So in this way, this is the right way to discharge duty in Krishna consciousness, and this can help one act in yoga purposes. And that's how Prabhupada says further that it is even the goal of Varnashrama system also. So Varnashrama system is meant for what? Varnashrama system is meant for regulating our activities in a proper way, which will bring one ultimately to the platform of worship of Vishnu. So Prabhupada says that in Vishnu Puran, the Varnashram, the goal of Varnashram Dharma is also to satisfy Vishnu. You know the verse from Vishnu Puran? Varnashrama acharvata purushena parapuman Vishnu aradhyate pantha nanyas toshasya karanam. This verse Prabhupada is referring to. The goal of even Varnashram Dharma, which regulates person's activities, is also to satisfy Lord Vishnu. So, in this way, if one does not follow this principle of satisfying Lord Vishnu, then even one is not properly practicing even Varnashrama Dharma also. In so-called Varnashrama Dharma, where there is no reference to Lord Vishnu and his satisfaction, that is also not proper Varnashrama Dharma. So, for example, suppose one is driving. Now, while driving, one is exactly following all the rules and regulations. One is, when there is red signal, he stops. When there is green signal, then he goes. One is driving by left side, and one is not overtaking unnecessarily. Very perfectly driving. But he is not going to any particular destination. He doesn't know where he is going. If you ask, so sir, you are following all the rules and regulations of traffic perfectly. You are driving very nicely. But where are you going? That I don't know. I am just driving. See, this is only a very romantic concept. Jahan rasta leke jaye, right? It is a very romantic concept, but it's a very foolish concept, right? So similarly, if one follows rules and regulations of Varnashrama very nicely, but if one doesn't understand what is the goal of Varnashrama, it has no meaning. Like that. So, in this way, Krishna is telling Arjun that when one works and is attached to the fruits of such work, referring to the previous verse, then he is performing karma yoga. And such detachment is perfected when he offers the fruits of his work to Krishna. And in this way, Krishna is telling Arjun, don't renounce the work, but renounce the fruits of work, or basically the tendency to enjoy the fruits of work. So that's what Krishna said to Arjun. Please go to verse number 49, sorry.
Tanmay Prabhu.
Durena yavaram karma.
Durena
Yavaram karma.
Buddhi yoga dhananjaya.
Buddhi yoga dhananjaya.
Buddho sharanam vichha.
Buddhau sharanam aviccha.
कृपणः फलहेतवः Translation: O Dhananjay, keep all abominable activities far distant by devotional service, and in that consciousness surrender unto the Lord. Those who want to enjoy the fruits of their work are miserers.
Misers. Yeah.
Miserers.
So in this verse, Krishna is telling Arjun that reject all abominable actions. Avaram karma or sakama karma. How? By buddhi yoga, nishkama karma, and surrender to this yoga. Durena hevaram karma, buddhi yoga dhananjaya, buddhau sharanam anvichya, krupanaha phalavetava. So those who enjoy the fruits of their work, they are simply misers. Krupana phalahetava. So purport Prabhupada says that one has to actually understand one's constitutional position as the eternal servant of the Lord, and as a servitor of the Lord, one should give up all other engagements and work in Krishna consciousness. So this is Buddhi Yoga. Now, Prabhupada says here, that those people who want to enjoy the fruits of their work, they are simply called as misers. So do you remember this word, miser, we had discussed before? Karpanya dosho, pahata swabhavaha, krupana. There also what miser had come. So why such a person is called as miser? Somebody who is just trying to enjoy the fruits of his activities, and he wants to engage in sense gratification. What is being miser over there? Anybody can tell?
He is not able to utilize the real potential of his life
What is that potential?
to get salvation, liberation. Like life is meant for the liberation, but he is not utilizing it. So in that sense, like a miserly person, he has money, but he doesn't utilize it.
Correct. Thank you. Anybody else also want to say anything further?
Prabhuji, so you had told that time that one who doesn't understand the real problems of life, such a person is a kripana. Means he has a human form of life which he can utilize to the highest purpose, but he's still utilizing it for a very small purposes of enjoying this world. So in this case, it was mentioned that it is kripana.
Yes, perfect. He has knowledge, but not utilizing that knowledge to realize. Correct. Thank you. So these are all very good answers. So, so in this way, such a person who is trying to enjoy the fruits of work, so human body, with that one can get salvation, and it has got a developed consciousness so that one can attain the perfection of life. Rather than that, if a person is using his human form of life just to enjoy the fruits of activities or for sense gratification, as a result of that, what is going to get? Simply repetition of cycle and birth and death. Means, one can get something very great, but if one is using it for something very trivial, so that person is called as miser. So that's why, Krishna is telling Arjun that you far away keep aside such work. And Prabhupada says, except for work in Krishna consciousness, all other activities are abominable. Why? Because they continually bind the worker to the cycle of birth and death. So they continually bind the person to cycle of birth and death. So rather than doing something very great achievement in terms of spiritual advancement, if one remains attached to the cycle of birth and death and the fruits, so that's why such work is called as abominable. So that's why last portion of purport Prabhupada says one should spend all energies working in Krishna consciousness. That will make one's life successful. But like misers, unfortunate persons do not employ their human energy in the service of the Lord. So best use of human energy is to work in Krishna consciousness, to utilize that energy for the service of Krishna. So So here basically Krishna is telling Arjun, what is the fruit attained by those who try to enjoy the results of his work? Those who are fruity workers. What is their fruit? What is the result of their fruity action? Simply repetition of cycle of birth and death. This is what there is the gain. And in this way, Krishna is criticizing fruitive desires and is glorifying Buddhi Yoga. So Prabhupada is translating Buddhi Yoga as devotional service. So actually living entity should work hard to escape the suffering forever, because only in human form of life one can escape this suffering of material existence, this entanglement of material existence. So rather than trying to become more and more entangled in this material world, one should try to escape. One should try in his best way to escape, work hard to escape the cycle of birth and death. So such Buddhi Yoga, it liberates a person. And what are the effects of Buddhi Yoga? Now they are going to be described in the next 4 verses. Benefits of acting in Buddhi Yoga. So please recite verse number 50.
Bibhu Prabhu.
Yes. बुद्धियुक्तो जाहति
Buddhi Yokto Jahatiha
उभे सुकृत दुष्कृते
Ube Sukrta
Sukrita
Duskrite
Duskrite
तस्माद् योगाय युज्यस्
Tasmad
Yogaya
Yogaya
Yujyasva
योगो कर्मो कौशलम्
Yoga Karma
Karma
Sukaushale.
Sukaushalam.
A man engaged in the devotional service rights himself for both good and bad reaction even in this life, but therefore strive for yoga, which is the art of all work.
Yes. So in this work, Krishna is giving art of work seminar. So what is art of work? If somebody is engaged in devotional service, so engage in devotional service in such a way that even while living in this world, one can become free from all reactions, whether it may be good or bad. So purport. So basically, what is the result of acting in Buddhi Yoga? Benefit of acting in Buddhi Yoga? One will not be bound by the reactions of one's actions. Yogaha karmasu kaushalam. So that's the art of work. So art of work is to work in such a way which will produce no reactions. No material reactions will be produced. That is the art of work. To work in such a way which will not produce any material reactions. So, one of the other thing Prabhupada writes in the purport, something very connected, that you see this word Buddhi Yoga. Buddhi Yoga means intelligence. Buddhi means technically called as intelligence, right? Now, the function of intelligence, one of the primary function of intelligence is to gain knowledge, right? So, opposite of knowledge is ignorance. So that means if one acts in Buddhi Yoga, what will happen? One will be getting rid of all the ignorance, and one will get enlightened in knowledge. So in this way, that's why Prabhupada says in purport, once ignorance can be removed by the instructions of Bhagavad Gita, which teaches one to surrender unto Shri Krishna in all respects, and in this way become liberated from chained victimization of action and reaction, birth after birth. Yeah, that's what Prabhupada says. So the art of work is to act in such a way that one becomes free from both good and bad reactions. So previously Arjuna was fearing that sinful reactions from killing his kinsmen will incur. But Krishna is telling Arjuna, if you act in a dutiful, detached work, in proper knowledge, that will protect Arjuna from the fruits stammering from his activities. So if Arjun, rather than worrying about sinful reactions, if he works in this Buddhi Yoga spirit, then there won't be any reactions. So he doesn't have to worry about sinful reaction. So Krishna is telling Arjun, we must work, but we should be detached from the results. So generally we see that the Jnanis are also applying this thing. They also become free from all the reactions by renouncing all activities. So Jnanis also say that because we work, we act, that's why there is a reaction. For every action, there is a reaction. So better renounce all the actions. That's what is Jnani. Don't act, just sit and meditate. But the same effect can be more easily achieved by working with detachment, because giving up work is very difficult. Karma sannyas is not so easy. So same result can be obtained if one works, but with detached spirit. And His Grace Buddhism Prabhu gives a very nice analogy. In general, mercury is poisonous, right? But if that mercury is in the hands of Ayurvedic doctor, then he can make it into, use it for medicine, like a magardwaj or something he can make. And that mercury becomes the cause of curing the disease. In Srimad Bhagavatam, Narad Muni, while instructing to Vyasadeva, he gives also similar analogy. That is called a therapeutic treatment. Therapeutic treatment means what? The therapeutic treatment is, suppose somebody has got loose motions, lot of stomach problem because of excessive drinking of or drinking of milk or eating milk products. What is the solution? Solution is curd. Same milk product, when it is transformed, it can use as a cure. So in general, work binds one to this world. But if the work is done in detached spirit as a service to Krishna, same work becomes the cause of liberation from this world. And this work becomes yoga. Previous work is bhoga. Now this work becomes yoga. So bhoga work versus yoga work. It is same work, but the same work can be either bhoga or it can become yoga. So even if one is doing kind of apparently material activities, but if they're done in detached spirit as a service to Krishna, they can become yoga, like doing job or studying or taking care of family. If they are done in the spirit of Krishna consciousness, then they become yoga. But if they are done for sense gratification, then the same activity becomes bhoga. So if one performs regular detached work, dutiful work, so such work which is aimed at pleasing the Supreme Lord leads to the liberation. So that's what Krishna is telling. So please go to verse number 51.
Anadi Govind bro.
Okay, so all devotees are done.
No, Guruji, actually from the alphabetical sequence, they have written YS their name, so that's why it's at end. So
Yes, please go ahead.
Verse 51. Karmanajam buddhi yukta hi phalam tektva manisinam bandha vimukta gachanti anamayam. Translation. By thus engaging in devotional service to the Lord, great sages or devotees free themselves from the result of work in the material world. In this way, they become free from the cycle of birth and death and attain the state beyond all misery by going back to Godhead.
Asim Prabhu, you're raising hand. You want to ask something?
Yes, Shodi, I have a question. Only here, like in Buddhism, those books it is written there. Material work, detached, beautiful work performed in knowledge and aimed at pleasing Supreme Lord leads simple liberation. So I want to know what is the meaning of, many times this phrase comes for work performed in knowledge. So what is the meaning of that phrase?
Work performed in knowledge is the work which is in which there is knowledge of what is the goal of such a work, for whom we are acting, what's the purpose, and what is the right type of work, what is the wrong type of work. So that's why it is referring to previous one, that karma, vikarma, akarma. This is the knowledge about what type of work should be performed. So having that knowledge and what is the goal of such a work. Basically, the ultimate goal of any work is to please Krishna. So that is basically working with knowledge. So basically, working with knowledge means to understand that if I work with fruitive desires, then I will be bound. If I work without fruitive desires, then I'll be free. But better than just working in a detached spirit, better aim to attain Krishna. Because ultimately, this material existence is miserable place. So even if I work very hard and I become successful in this world, but still I cannot get rid of miseries in this world. So I had to work, but somehow that work should be doubted in Krishna. So that way the work attains perfection. So that is the goal. So knowledge of the goal, knowledge of the concept of this action and reactions, knowledge of what type of work should be performed. So that is what is working in knowledge. Till now, that's what we are discussing, this knowledge of Buddhi Yoga.
Thank you.
One who has unflinching faith on Krishna can be equipoised in success and failure. But a common sadhaka, for a common sadhaka, how can this be practically applied? What are the methods? Very good question. So one who has got an unflinching faith in Krishna, he can become very much equipoised in failure and success. But what about sadhaka? Yeah, so sometimes it seems that there are very high concepts which are spoken. So that's why for a sadhaka, he has to practice it. It is not an overnight job. He has to make a practice. So first of all, that's why he has to regularly do hearing of the philosophy and then do contemplation on that, associate with devotees, discuss with devotees these things. And then with a proper contemplation, one has to slowly try to apply these things and try to elevate oneself from this platform of attachments. So it does take some time. So that's why utsahat nishchayat dhairyat. There should be determination that yes, I must do it. There should be enthusiasm to do it. At the same time, patience. It is not that after hearing this Bhagavad Gita class, now we will become immediately detached from all work, fruitive results. So it takes some time, but at the same time, one should be working upon it through process of hearing and contemplation. If one is working upon it through the process of hearing and contemplation, engage in the devotional activities which one is doing, then what happens? Slowly, one will come to that platform. So patience is also important. Okay, so 51st verse, Krishna is telling another benefit of acting in Buddhi Yoga, one will become free from birth and death cycle. Janma bandha vinirmuktaha. One will become free from birth and death cycle, and finally he'll go to the state which is beyond all miseries. Padam gachanti anamayam. Anamayam pada means the state of which is beyond all miseries, that is going back to Godhead. In purport, Prabhupada says, Prabhupada quotes this, that's why very relevant Samashritaye Padapallava Plum verse Prabhupada quotes. So Prabhupada says in the next paragraph that owing to ignorance, one does not know that this material world is a miserable place where there are dangers at every step. Out of ignorance only, less intelligent persons try to adjust to the situation by fruity activities, thinking that the resultant reactions will make them happy. They do not know that no kind of material body anywhere within the universe can give life without miseries. The miseries of life, namely birth, death, old age, and disease, are present everywhere within the material world. Very powerful statement. No kind of material body anywhere within the universe can give the life without miseries. So if one thinks that, if at all I could have become a rich person, if at all I could have got birth in a very rich family, I would have been happy. Or if one thinks, if I would have been American, I would have been happier. Or if I would have been Japanese, I would have been happier. Sometimes a man thinks, if I would have been a woman, I would have been happier. If a woman thinks, if I would have been man, I would have been happier. And people feel if I go to Swarga, I'll be happier. But Prabhupada says that, in this material world, there is always some misery. Even for people in Swarga Loka, there are some attacks of demons. Isn't it? So, no body, which one gets can give us the life free from miseries. Such miseries are present everywhere. So rather than trying to acquire different types of material bodies, of course, sometimes some people feel even becoming dog is also better. Because sometimes the human form appears to be more miserable than dog. People feel, oh, dog doesn't have to give exams, they don't have to face interviews. It is a better life. आराम से खा रहा है, सो रहा है, कुछ टेंशन नहीं जीवन में, स्ट्रेस नहीं है, स्ट्रेस प्रॉब्लम इज नॉट देयर. But then, any type of material body one takes, or for that matter, any type of material situation also, the miseries of life always exist. Whether one is beautiful or ugly, whether one is rich or poor, one is intelligent or unintelligent. Like some people feel that, if I get a very beautiful wife, I'll be very happy. But Chanakya Pandit says what? Rupavati Bharya Shatru. If one has a very beautiful wife, then he is always anxiety ridden because he has to protect, wife from other people. Similarly, if one thinks that if I become a Hollywood star, I'll be very happy. But if you go in the life of Hollywood star, there are so many troubles. As compared to that, our life is more happier. If one thinks if I become Prime Minister of India, I will become very happy. But you go, he has to work 18 hours a day. Prime Minister. And so much criticism on Facebook and all, right? Everywhere, so much criticism. One word here and there he speaks, my God, it can bring so much trouble. So there is a lot of tension, isn't it, to handle a nation. One may see a big amount of, respect one is getting, or glorification, whatever glorification we get or not. But respect one is getting, or kind of, post and the salary and the house to stay. But that doesn't mean the life is very happy. Life is miserable in this material world. Similarly, even if one becomes Indra or any demigod also, it's similar like that. So there may be some degrees of happiness and distress in this material world. There may be varied degrees of happiness and distress. But ultimately, no life is free from misery. So devotee should be convinced of this fact, that no body or no situation in this world can bring us freedom from misery. So that's why Prabhupada said, one who understands his real constitutional position as an eternal servitor of the Lord and thus knows the position of the personality of Godhead, engages himself in transcendental loving service of the Lord. Consequently, he becomes qualified to enter into Vaikuntha planets where there is no material miserable life nor influence of time and death. So if one wants the life free from misery, that is what intelligent human beings should strive for, then one should try to go to Vaikuntha. Vaikuntha means where there is no kuntha, where there is no misery at all. Whereas this material world is called as Jagat of Kuntha. So that's why a intelligent person should try to act in such a way that one will be promoted to a place of Vaikuntha. So, of course, we are all trying in the same direction. That is our aspiration. So, such a service for the cause of the Lord is called as Buddhi Yoga or Karma Yoga or devotional service. So, Prabhupada is basically equating all these three terms: Karma Yoga, Buddhi Yoga, and Bhakti, devotional service. All three of them are similar only. Because as long as one acts in service to Krishna, so there is a very minute difference between Buddhi Yoga, Karma Yoga, and Bhakti Yoga. It's a very minute difference. So Prabhupada in general, if you see everywhere, even the word Karma Yoga or Buddhi Yoga comes, Prabhupada says devotional service, Krishna consciousness. The same words Prabhupada uses. Okay. So Srila Vicharana Thakur, what he says in this regards, detached work leads to realized knowledge of the soul. So if one works in detachment, then one becomes self-realized. He gradually becomes blessed with the knowledge, and in this way, one can surrender to him. And by surrendering to the Lord, then that frees one from the material world. And after liberation, he becomes eligible to attain Vaikuntha. So this progression is called yoga ladder, according to Vishwanath Thakur. So what is yoga ladder? Detached work leads to knowledge. With the knowledge, one surrenders to Krishna. When one surrenders to Krishna, then one becomes free from material world. And when we become liberated from material world, one goes to Vaikuntha. So this is also yoga ladder. Like, okay, 50-second one. Please recite.
Abhishek Prabhu.
Vaikuntha Goloka are same only. Yeah, please recite.
यदा ते मोहकलिलं बुद्धिर्व्यतितरिष्यति
बुद्धिर्व्यतितरिष्यति
तदा गन्तासि निर्वेदं when your intelligence has passed out of the dense forest of delusion, you shall become indifferent to all that has been heard and all that is to be heard.
Yeah. So this verse is telling about indifference to Vedas. Moha Kalilam. So Moha Kalilam is what? The delusion which is caused by the fruitive activities mentioned in Vedas. So by that, if you when your intelligence has gone beyond these flowery words of Vedas, Pushpitam Vacham, then one can become indifferent, neutral, and in this way, one becomes free from such actions and reactions. So, and Prabhupada quotes Madhavendra Puri, what he says, that, oh, now rituals of Vedas, bye-bye. So you can read that verse yourself, but it's a whole thing. Basically, he says that all the rituals of Vedas, bye-bye to you. I want to simply think of Krishna. So Prabhupada says that the Vedic rites and rituals are imperative for neophytes. So like, prayers 3 times a day, basically Gayatri, taking bath early in the morning, offering respects to forefathers, etc. These are all required for whom? Neophyte people in spiritual practice. But those who are advanced in Krishna consciousness and engage in the loving service of the Lord, then one can become indifferent to all these regulative principles because he has already attained perfection. So basically, he is on the Bhava stage now. Bhava or Prema stage. He doesn't have to follow any Vedic regulations and rules. But if one is simply engaged in rituals of the Vedas, but doesn't understand the purpose of the Vedas to reach Krishna, then his rituals are simply useless waste of time. So same point. So what a devotee should do? You can think about it. As somebody was asking, what about our level? So should we also become free from the Vedic rites and rituals now? But these Vedic rites and rituals are compared to be the Moha Kalilam, dense fog of delusion, dense forest of delusion, Moha Kalilam. So Krishna is saying, go beyond it. So Krishna compares this Karmaskanda section of Vedas to be Moha Kalilam, dense forest of material illusion. And because Arjuna is preoccupied with fruitive mentality, he is thinking that happiness is impossible to obtain and misery is certain if he performs his duty of fighting. But Krishna tells him that by fighting with buddhi, he will achieve fixed intelligence, vyasayatmika buddhi, and become indifferent to happiness and distress. So what we should do as a sadhaka? Should we also give up all this, as Madhavendra Puri says, taking bath? Should we give up bathing? Should we give up offering prayers? All such things.
Roji, we are not elevated. That's why we need to do these things. These are necessary for us, and this thing will help us to get there.
Yeah. Okay. Because we are not advanced, so we should do. Then Mohan Sakabro is telling rituals will help overcome conditioned nature. Okay. Any other answer?
That one statement is there, na, that we should do always remember Krishna and never forget Krishna. So we can accept all those activities which are helping us to do this, and we should not accept other things which are there, like in the Vedas there, as you.
This is the most perfect answer. Accept those activities, rituals which are favorable for Krishna consciousness. Give up those activities and rituals from Vedas which are not so favorable for Krishna consciousness. Like bathing is favorable or not favorable? It's favorable, right? But at the same time, one doesn't have to do yajna for demigods. It is not so favorable for them. So it can be given up. So one doesn't, devotee doesn't have to do some yajnas for demigods or some kind of demigod worship or something like that. Or some kind of vratas, like, I don't want to name, let it be, or doesn't have to celebrate some type of, typical Vedic festivals. That is not required. Some type of rituals of Vedas. But those rites and rituals which are favorable, they should be accepted. So this is perfect for sadhaka. That he should accept those things which are favorable for his bhakti. So taking bath or chanting Gayatri for those who are Brahmana initiated, for them it is favorable for bhakti. And in this way, those things should be accepted. Like, thank you. So let us go to the next verse.
Hare Krishna Puja. Hare Krishna Puja.
Yes, sir.
Puji, you told that the favorable things have to be accepted, but slowly we have to be moving more forward. Now we have to be give more time in Krishna consciousness instead of just rituals like taking bath and those things. Like, we have to be increase this part more, or we have to be always in balance between both.
In general, a devotee, even if he becomes advanced, he will act in order to set examples. So that's what will come in third chapter. If we go ahead, Krishna tells Arjun that even if you think that you are transcendental to all this duty, performance of duty, but still you should do it to set an example. For example, if a devotee says that, now I have become so great, so slowly I'll reduce my taking bath. So that will be like unfavorable for bhakti, right? So that's why under proper guidance, it specifically refers to those activities which are not so much leading to Krishna consciousness, especially Vedic sacrifices, which are very elaborate and meant for getting some fruity results, or kind of those activities which are meant to please demigods, or those activities which are meant to bring some kind of salvation into impersonal Brahman. So such activities should not be performed by a devotee. But other activities which are like taking bath regularly 2-3 times in a day, and offering respects, to the superiors, these are all favorable, so they can be conducted. When one can give up, basically, if one has got, gone onto the platform of Raganuga Bhakti and Bhava Bhakti, then one can give up. So that's why when Prabhupada is quoting Madhavendra Puri, he was on the stage of Prema, so he can give up. So basically, there are Vedic rituals, there are devotional Vedic sadhana bhakti rules and regulations, and there are Raganuga platform things. So one should not give up those who are required for Vaidhi Bhakta, which are prescribed for Vaidhi Bhakta, rules and regulations. Whereas a person on Raganuga and Bhava Prem, he may not take bath also. But he's on a Raganuga platform, so for him it is no problem because he doesn't get covered by ignorance. Like Avadhut Brahmana, he may be lying on a stool. But that doesn't mean that, so he's beyond all this. But he can give up that bathing and, Jada Bharat was not wearing any, fresh clothes or anything. So, because they were beyond Vaidhi. But unless until one is beyond Vaidhi, one should not give up Vaidhi practices. But even a Vaidhi sadhaka can give up certain rituals of Vedas which are not so favorable for devotions. So that's why that Aradhana Prabhu's answer was the perfect answer. Okay, please go to verse number 53.
Prabhuji, I'm again starting from the beginning. So if
So
anyone,
you can ask if some devotee did not get the chance to read it.
yes. So any devotees there who did not get a chance to recite the verse last time?
Myself.
Okay. No, so you recited at the beginning, no? No, I'm saying from the end, because we're seeing your name will come in sometime. So,
myself,
think-
Karthik.
Gautam Prabhu. Oh, Karthik,
First.
Karthik. Okay. Yes, Prabhuji.
53. Shruti vipratipanna
Shruti vipratipanna
yada stashyati nishala
yada thasyati nishala
samadhavachala buddhis
Samadhavachala
tada yogam avavsyasi.
tada yogavapsasi.
Translation: when your mind is no longer disturbed by the flowery language of the Vedas, and when it remains fixed in the trance of self-realization, then you will have attained the divine consciousness.
Yeah. So this is the fourth benefit Krishna is talking about, the Buddhi Yoga. So first benefit was no reactions for your actions. Second benefit was no birth and death cycle. Third benefit was one will transcend the rituals of Vedas. And fourth is one becomes fixed in intelligence. One gets achala buddhi, fixed intelligence. And also eventually one becomes situated in trance, samadhi. So such a person is called as Jivan Mukta. One who is living in this material world, but still liberated. So Prabhupada writes in the purport, the highest perfection of self-realization is understood that one is eternally servant of Krishna. And one's only business is to discharge one's duties in Krishna consciousness. So a devotee who is an unflinching devotee of the Lord should not be disturbed by the flowery language of Vedas. Pushpitam Vacham, and in this way engage in the fruity activities for promotion to heavenly kingdom. On the other hand, a devotee who is Krishna conscious, he comes in direct communion with Lord, and thus he gets all directions from Krishna, and in this way one is supposed to be on the transcendental state. At that stage, one surely is going to get conclusive knowledge also. So if one simply carries out the orders of Krishna or his representatives, the spiritual master, then one gets fixed intelligence, achala buddhi. Basically, one gets knowledge also. At the same time, one becomes situated in samadhi. So rather than getting attracted to the fruity activities, especially even the fruity activities mentioned in Vedas, rather than that, one should try to follow the instructions of Krishna and spiritual master. So in this way, Krishna is telling Arjun that he must transcend fruitive desires and become fixed in Buddhi Yoga to achieve success. So such a person, the desires to perform prescribed Vedic duties, that is various sacrifices, rituals, they must no longer disturb the candidate attempted to attain samadhi. Then what if one neglects Vedic verses of getting of having various type of rituals, one will lack in knowledge? Is it that he will not have any knowledge? No. So that's why Prabhupada says that if one acts in Krishna consciousness, if one follows the instructions of Krishna or spiritual master, then one comes in direct communion with Krishna. And in this way, he gets dictations from Krishna. And in this way, he comes to transcendental state. And not only that, he attains conclusive knowledge. So this verse will come ahead also. Tesham satajayuktanam bhajatam pritipurvakam tadami buddhi yogam tam yena mam upayanti te. You know, aham adhyanajam tamah nashayami atma bhavasto jnanadipena bhasvata. What is the first line? Tesham evanukampartham, you know, Tesham evanukampartham
Aham
Aham
ajnanatam
ajnanajam
tamah.
tamaha
nashayami
nashayami
atma
atmabhavasto
bhavasto.
jnanadipena bhasvata.
So that will come in the next verses, you know, because basically future all this chapter we have to understand that this chapter is a summary of entire Bhagavad Gita. So all the concepts which are mentioned now are going to be explained in the future chapters in more details. So this verse will come, which is similar to that verse. So if you remember, when we come to that verse, you should remember this verse also. It was mentioned by Krishna already that if somebody acts in the under the direction of Krishna, he will not remain in ignorance. He will get the knowledge also. He will be enlightened in the conclusive knowledge. He should not be worried that maybe I'll remain in ignorance. So, in this way, Krishna has finished describing Buddhi Yoga. And now, this section is ended over here. The section of Buddhi Yoga ends over here. So now Arjuna has heard about intelligence, fixed intelligence in Samadhi, which is Achala Buddhi, which is fixed in Samadhi. Now Arjuna wants to ask Krishna, what are the characteristics of such a person who has got that Achala Buddhi, Vyavasayatmika Buddhi, or who is engaged, fixed in devotion to the Lord in Buddhi Yoga. Somebody is fixed in Buddhi Yoga, you know. Such a person is called as Sthita Pradnya. So these words are similar. Achala Buddhi, Buddhi Yoga, Sthita Pradnya, Vyavasayatmika Buddhi. Basically, unka buddhi jo hai, wo Bhagwan mein fix ho gaya. This is the meaning of all these terminology. Sthita Pradnya. Pradnya also means one whose intelligence is fixed intelligence, you know. So now Arjuna is asking, what are the symptoms of such people? You know, so he is going to work performed without craving for results, produce steadiness in knowledge, jnana nishtha, also known as sthita prajnata. So basically that's what was Krishna's point, that if one works without attachment, and in order to please Krishna, then what happens? He'll gain also knowledge. So in this way, in fact, he gets a steady knowledge. So that is called as jnana nishtha. And such a person, that is also called as Sthita Prajnata. So self-realized personality. So now, next section from 54th verse to 72nd verse. Basically, this is the last section of this chapter. The last section of this chapter is going to talk about Sthita Prajna, the qualities of a liberated soul or a Jivan Mukta personality, or person who is fixed in his intelligence on Krishna. So, what are the qualities of such a person? Arjuna is going to, so it is going to begin with question by Arjun. So please recite 54th verse.
Any more devotee remaining to recite the verse?
Prabhuji, I am remaining.
Okay, so thank you.
Arjuna Uvacha.
Arjuna Uvacha.
Sthita Prajnasya ka bhasha. Samadhistasya Keshava. Sthitadi kim prabhasheta. Kim asit vrajate kim. Translation. Arjun said, O Krishna, what are the symptoms of one whose consciousness is thus fixed, merged in transcendence? How does he speak? And what is his language? How does he sit? And how does he talk?
How does he walk?
Sorry, yeah. How does he walk?
Yeah. So this verse, Arjuna is questioning about Sthita Prajna, a self-realized soul, or a Jivan Mukta, or one who is in samadhi or divine consciousness? So there are 4 questions Arjun is asking. Ka bhasha, what is the, so the meaning of ka bhasha means what are his general symptoms? So the answer for this Krishna will give in 2.55, 55th verse. Next verse Krishna is going to answer. Second question, Kim Prabhasheta, how does he speak? Means on receiving praise or blame, affection or hate, how he behaves externally or internally. So that will be answered in 56th and 57th verse. Kim Asita, how does he sit? So how does he sit means what? Whether he sits on a, Vyasasan or he sits on the chatai, not that way. How does he sit means how does he restrain his senses from sense objects? So that will be discussed from 58th verse to 63rd verse by Krishna. And 4th is Kim Rajeta, how does he walk? How does he walk means how does he respond to sense objects? So that will be discussed from 64th verse to 71st verse. So Srila Vishwanath Thakur, he has given these meanings that although there are externally, the words are like appear to be some external activities of such a self-realized soul, but Vishwanath Thakur gives this deeper meaning. Deeper meaning are what are his general symptoms, how does he respond to the dualities of this world, how does he restrain his senses from sense objects, and how he responds when sense objects come in front of him. So that's what Vishwanath Thakur has given meaning. It is internal meaning he has given. So now, purport Prabhupada says that there are symptoms of every person. So symptoms are also by his external activities, and also there are internal symptoms. So there are symptoms of rich person. What are the symptoms of rich person? How do you understand? He's a rich man. Yeah, he should wear a very good dress. He should go in a car, isn't it? So that means he's a rich person, isn't it? So his assets which he possesses, the house in which he lives, luxuries, yeah. So these are the symptoms of rich person. So there are symptoms of deceased person. How do you understand some disease? His face will show his deceased. His activities will also show his deceased. Similarly, there are learned people, there are symptoms of that. So Prabhupada says in similar way, there are symptoms of a Krishna conscious person also. In how he deals in various situations, that shows how much Krishna conscious a person is. So Krishna conscious person also has got his own symptoms. And Prabhupada says in the purport, most important is how the man in Krishna consciousness speaks. For speech is the most important quality of any person. It is said that a fool is undetected till he opens his mouth. Similarly, a great soul is undetected till he opens his mouth. So now we can share that. So in this regard, there is something I want to show you. You see this, person is known by his words, right? Once upon a time, king with his minister went to forest for hunting expedition. After some time, the king became tired. So they both got down from their horses and took rest under a tree. So king is telling to the minister, I am feeling very thirsty. Can you please search for some water for me? The minister was searching in jungle for water. At last, there seems to be some human dwelling. Let me ask there for water. So in that human dwelling, he saw the cottage basically. There was a blind sage. Hey, I am the minister. I have come to find drinking water for our king. Give me immediately. Tell your king that if he wants water, he should come here. Then minister is coming back to king. I have found a place for drinking water, but the sage there would not give it. He says that let the king come here and have water. Something seems to be wrong. Let me investigate. Then king is coming now to the sage. My dear sage, how are you? Can I please have some water to drink? Sure, the sage is saying. After water, you may have some fruits also, and that then may take rest in my hut. Then the king is asking, oh sage, you are so merciful to us. Please let me know how can I repay you? Sage is saying, oh king, you have come to my hut. That itself is your mercy. And king is saying, I am bewildered. When my minister came on my behalf for water, you simply refused. I thought you must be a very cruel person. But now when I'm talking to you, I realize that you are a very merciful person. If you do not mind, can you please explain as to why there is a sudden change in your behavior? How? Sage is saying, your minister was puffed up and very rude in his talk. Your talk is very gentle and respectful. Hence, I realize that you must be the king, and hence you deserve the best treatment I can give. Oh sage, please forgive my minister. A person is known by his speech and behavior, no matter how great his material position is. The more he becomes great, more he'll become humble, because he'll realize that a Jivatma is so insignificant in this material world. I hope you have learned a good lesson. King is telling to minister. Minister is saying, yes, king, please forgive my maturity. I shall improve. Yeah. So this is what, So the person is known by his words. So Prabhupada says that's how one speaks is a symptom of a person. So the way of speech also indicates what mode person is in. So if person is very, actually it is said that Vidya Vinayana Shobhate. If a person is very learned, then he becomes very gentle also, very polite and gentle in his behavior. And in this way, such a learned person, his speech is also very polite and gentle. And the person who is very puffed up, his speech will be very arrogant. So speech is a symptom of a person, what he is, isn't it? And Prabhupada says the best way, a symptom of highest Krishna conscious person is what? He speaks only about Krishna and matters related to Krishna. And other symptoms automatically follow. So that's what are the symptoms of a person Arjuna is inquiring about. Okay, so please go to verse number 55.
I think Bhimrashru was also remaining last time. So
Shri Bhagavan Uvacha
Shri Bhagavan Uvacha
Prajahati Yada Kaman
Prajahati Kama
Sarvam Partha Manogatan
Sarvan Partha Bhagavatam
Atmani Eva Atmana Tushta
Atmani Atmana Tushta
Sita Pragya Sadochyate.
Prajnasta Dochate.
Hare Krishna, I'm audible.
Yes.
The Supreme Personality of Godhead said, O Parth, when a man gives up all varieties of desire for sense gratification, which arise from mental concoction, and when his mind, thus purified, finds satisfaction in the self alone, then he is said to be in the pure transcendental consciousness.
Yeah, so this is answer to the first question of Arjun. Ka bhasha. What are the general symptoms? So what are the general symptoms of Sthita Prajna? Rajahati Yada Kaman, who gives up all kinds of material desires. Sarvan Partha Manogatam, which arise from mind, Manogatam. Atmani Evatmana Tushtaha, is satisfied in the self as a servant of Supreme. Sthita Prajna Stadochate is said to be Sthita Prajna, in pure consciousness. So, Prabhupada writes in the purport that one who is fully Krishna conscious, he has got all good qualities. Whereas a person who is not transcendental situated has no good qualification. Why? Because he takes refuge in mental concoctions. What is that verse? Anybody knows from Bhagavatam?
यस्यात्म बुद्धि को
Yasyatma buddhi krodhe. No.
no.
What is the verse? This devotee has got all good qualities.
मनोरथे नास्ति धावतो वही
Sarvair Ganeshwara
समासते सुरा हराव भक्तस्य कुतो
कुतो महद्गुणा
मनोरथे नास्ति धावतो वही.
Yes. So non-devotee, because he takes manoratha, he sits on the chariot of mind and acts on mental concoctions. That's why his good qualifications are obscured. Whereas a devotee develops all good qualifications. Now, one of the primary symptoms is Krishna is telling of a sthita prajna is that he gives up all kinds of material desires. But then Prabhupada says in the purport that artificially one cannot stop desires. Because to desire is a symptom of soul. A soul can never become desireless. So that's why better one becomes engaged in Krishna consciousness, then all sense desires subdue without extraneous efforts. So rather than just creating a vacuum, that's why Raisham Prabhu gives this example, right? That if one wants to create a vacuum in the bulb, then they put some inert gas. If one puts a vacuum, I think they have to empty oxygen or something, right? From a bulb. But if that is removed and only vacuum is kept, then what happens? The bulb will explode. So that's why they put inert gas into it. The same way, one can get rid of material desires, but not by simply creating desireless situation or a vacuum situation, but by filling it with spiritual desires. So by becoming engaged in Krishna consciousness. So in this way, when one becomes freed from such material desires, what happens? Such person becomes satisfied in himself by realizing himself as eternal servant of God. Satisfaction is the inverse function of material desires. Somebody who has too many material desires, that person will be always disturbed. Whereas a person who is free from material desires, he'll be satisfied and peaceful. So if one wants to be peaceful and satisfied, then one has to be free from material desires. And that's what is sthita prajna. So basically, sthita prajna, he reveals his position by having no material affection, is detached from happiness and misery. Rather, he is fully satisfied by fixing his consciousness on the self, like that. So now, this is the answer to first question of Arjun. Please go to next verse, 56th verse.
Anyone more remaining?
Can I read?
Okay. Yes, Vishnu.
Dukheshva anudigna mana Dukheshu vigata spreha Vitaraga bhaya krodha Sithadir muniruchyate. Translation: one who is not disturbed in mind, even amidst the threefold miseries, or elated when there is happiness, and who is free from attachment, fear, and anger, is called a sage of steady mind.
Yes. So this word comes here, Muni, Sitadir Muni. Muni means what? One who can do various ways of mental speculations. So every Nasa Munir Yasya Matam na Bhinnam, Mahabharat says. There is no one Muni, one cannot be called as Muni if he has no different opinion. He has to have his own separate opinion. Sometimes devotees are also act like Munis. Right? Everybody has their own opinion of what to do. But here the Muni which is referred is Sthitadir Muni. Means what? Now he has become retired from his mental speculations and he is always in Krishna consciousness. He has exhausted, Prabhupada writes in the purport, he has exhausted all his business of creative speculations and he has become fixed in Krishna. His mind has become fixed in Krishna because he has come to conclusion that Krishna is everything, Vasudeva Sarvamiti. So his mind has become fixed on Krishna now. So such Sthitadir Muni, he doesn't become disturbed by the onslaught of threefold miseries. because he accepts misery as the mercy of the Lord. He thinks that actually I have done so many bad karmas, so I deserve more misery. In fact, it is by Krishna's mercy I am getting only token miseries. So due to my all miseries which I am getting are due to my own past bad karma. In fact, Krishna is so merciful that he is giving only less. He is giving only token of the miseries to me. I deserve much more miseries. So, and when happiness comes, what he thinks, I don't deserve this happiness. In fact, I am such an insincere person. I have done so many bad karmas. I deserve misery. But Krishna is so merciful that he has given me happiness. So now let me, in such a happy situation, comfortable situation, better I render service to Lord. And in this way, for the service of the Lord, he is always daring and active and is not influenced by attachment and aversion. So this is golden purport of Prabhupada. How a devotee should act practically in his day-to-day life. When the misery comes, what he should think and how he should take misery in his life. When happiness comes, how he should take, how he should treat happiness in his life. And Prabhupada says, for the service of the Lord, devotees always daring. You should do all types of daring for the service of the Lord and should remain active, not become influenced by attachment and aversion. What do you mean by attachment? Accepting those things which are favorable for one's sense gratification. That is called as attachment. And detachment means absence of such sensual attachment. But a devotee is neither concerned about attachment or detachment because his life is dedicated in the service of the Lord. So, such a devotee is not angry when his attempts are unsuccessful, because a devotee, whether he has success or no success, he is always steady in his determination. And the perfect example for this is Srila Prabhupada himself. He had no success for many years, but he did not become angry. So Prabhupada is perfect Sitadir Muni. He never became angry and he did not become frustrated. He said that, I will die here in America, but I will continue to preach. Even Bhakti Thakur would say, even if we get one soul who becomes pure devotee, that is the success of our mission. Like that. So they were, although Prabhupada did not get much success in the beginning, Prabhupada was not frustrated. In fact, he was very peaceful and very compassionate still. He did not develop aversion. Neither Prabhupada gave up his endeavors to preach. So he was always daring and active. So whether success comes or not, his efforts did not reduce. If you read this New York Journal, there is one book of Prabhupada, another diary. There is one Jaluduta diary by Prabhupada. There is another diary by Prabhupada which is called as New York Journal. You will get it in Vedabase. Prabhupada is making so much efforts. He's writing letter to him, he's writing letter to that, and he's writing so many letters. He's meeting so many big people. He's meeting so many people. He's giving classes. He's trying to canvas like anything people to become Krishna conscious. And sometimes Prabhupada says, sometimes I feel, where should I go? What should I do? I don't understand. But still, I have got a mission for my Guru, and I will do it at any cost. So that was Prabhupada's consciousness. So this purport is one of the most golden purports of Prabhupada. How devotee should act in misery, how devotee should act in happiness, and how he should also take up, the mission of Lord in a daring and active manner. And if he doesn't get success, still he should not become frustrated, because his concern is not success or no success. His concern is that I want to serve Krishna. So devotee's satisfaction is that I am engaged in Krishna's service. Success or no success, that is Krishna's problem. I have got opportunity to serve Krishna, and his full satisfaction is in serving Krishna. So recently in one of the classes, Rajeshwam was also telling. So one devotee was telling that, oh, we feel greatly stressed sometimes in our life. So Rajeshwam was quoting this verse. He was telling, in our life, we should feel satisfaction that whole day I was engaged in Krishna's service this way or that. That should be our happiness. That I got opportunity to serve Krishna. This is my biggest reward. That I could serve Krishna. I could chant holy names. I could sing Mangalarti. I could read. I could hear. I could serve in some way. So this is I could associate with Vaishnavas. That is our success. Now, success in terms of result may or may not come. That is by Krishna's. It is in Krishna's hands. But the real success is that we properly engage ourselves in devotional service. But at the same time, devotee is very daring and active for serving Krishna. Not that he just sits that, anyway, success and no success, it is not my problem, so I'll just sit. No, he's always very daring and active for Krishna. So now our time is up. So you can go through this purport again. I would recommend. This is one of the golden purports. 55th verse, 56th verse. No, 56th verse. Yeah. So dukheshu anadvignamana, sukheshu vigata spruha, vitaraga bhayakroda. So these are the symptoms of Sthitadhir Muni. So you can go through it again and contemplate on this very, very important verse. Okay, so we stop here. Thank you very much. Tomorrow we'll continue. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Srimad Bhagavad Gita ki jai.
Jai.
Thank you, Prabhuji.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Guruji.
Thank you, Prabhuji.
Yeah.
Hare Krishna.
Thank you.
Thank you, Prabhuji.
Sixth verse.